So I'm Vicki Proctor, and I'm just hanging out here today by the fire. It's really good. It's warming up, beautiful day. And show you a quick tour while people are joining in. So this is my backyard. I live out in Conover, Ohio, which is out in the country. So I have a barn behind me, another barn behind me. If you watch during this, you might see some goats running around back there. We have about 40 neighbor goats. So anyway, I'm Vicki Proctor. I'm the outdoor program team leader for Girl Scouts of Western Ohio. And I sort of travel up and down the highway between northern Ohio and southern Ohio for 6 different camps. And sometimes I work in the Dayton office, sometimes in the Lima, and sometimes at camps. But most of the time, this is what I'm doing, outdoors, enjoying, getting people to come outside and do things here. Well, I'll give people another minute or two to get on. Tell me where you're from, because we've had people all over the country watching these and out of the country. And once you do that, let me know, what's your favorite thing about a campfire? So I don't know if you can see it, feel the heat. It's going pretty good there. Had it going most of the day today just to get it going good. So here's what we're going to do today, is we're going to talk about building campfires. So first of all, I've been a long-time Girl Scout. I started in 2nd grade as a brownie, because that's as soon as you could join in. Went all the way through the program, and then when I was in college, I was a camp counselor every year at summer camp. And then when I decided to grow up and do something, I thought, camp. So I ended up working professionally for Girl Scouts, and most of my million years with Girl Scouts has been doing outdoor kind of things. And in all those years that I have been in Girl Scouting, there's been one consistent and one very traditional tradition that is just everything about Girl Scouting, and that's the campfire. And today is Monday, which is traditions. So I want to tell you all about building campfires. So let me turn my page here. It gets a little windy out here, but I don't want to forget anything. So we're going to talk about building fires. There are several Girl Scout badges at all levels, brownies, juniors, cadets, that talk about fire building. And I think we listed that in there. So you can check that out. But every level, you need to do some fire building and then progress on into different kinds of fires, different ways to cook, etc. But what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the safety of fires. We're going to talk about all the kinds of wood that you need. Whew, getting warm here. And then how to actually lay the fire, because that's the important part. And then we're going to talk about how to light it and keep it going. So first off, the safety tips. So long hair. Pull your hair back. If you don't have long hair, make sure you don't have flowy clothes on, things that dangle, because if you're going to be over the fire, you don't want to catch fire and have to practice that kind of stuff. So just make sure you're safe. Second of all, always have water. And you need that just in case something happens, or you need to put your fire out at the end. Some people like rakes. Some people like shovels, just in case. If you do any Dutch oven cooking, a shovel, you like to get in there and dig the coals out. So I was trying to see, I can't see that far, to see what everybody likes. I think a lot of people put down, you love the smell of a campfire. You know, depending on the part of the country you're in and you build a fire with the wood you have, it has a different smell. So this is mostly ash from my backyard. It smells a certain way. Oak smells a different way. All of you up there in Colorado, you know what aspen smells like when you're up in the mountains. Really good. The other things to think about safety-wise, if you tuned in, oh gosh, last week or whenever that was, if you remember, anybody remember what this is? Can you see that? Anybody remember what that is? That means it's principle number 5 in leave no trace, and that's minimize the impact of your fire. So you want to be able to have fire in a protected area, so use spots that are existing already. Also, you notice, well, there is a tree there, but it's way over there. So don't build your fire right under low-lying branches. Watch tree roots. You don't want to build your fire on tree roots because that could destroy the roots and destroy the tree. So in my backyard, I just happen to have this neat little thing. It's pretty cool. You can actually, it's aluminum, and I can actually turn my fire around if I need to because that's not hot. So do remember some of those leave no trace principles for fire building. So let's talk about wood, because wood is essential. You have to have the right materials to build a fire successfully. And it's an art form. I always tell people that I train, it's an art form. It's all about the physics of fire building. And if you can learn just the basics, it's really, really easy. So what you want to do is start with 3 kinds of wood, and I'll show you those. There's tinder, kindling, and fuel. So how many know what size tinder is? Any of you out there done some fire building? So tinder, I think of tinder and tiny. And I'm going to get up there and show you this. So see how little that is? Okay, that's almost as thick as a pin or a needle. So you want the thinnest wood that you can find. This was hanging off of a dead tree branch. Okay, this is kind of some pine. And tinder is really the smallest stuff that you can get. So this is tinder, even up a little bit bigger. But you need a lot of tinder. That's what you're going to start your fire with. So I want what not to use here in a minute, and so I'll get back to that. But it's important to have a lot of tinder, and I'll tell you about where to get that. Kindling. So tinder is usually needle thickness, maybe up to your baby finger. Probably not even that big. That's too big. Then the next size up is kindling. So really anything bigger than your baby finger, maybe around wrist size. So if you can all see that. So I'm going to add some of that to the fire right now. You will probably need the most kindling, because if you're going to build a fire and you're going to cook, you want some good hot flames. And so you don't need a lot of big stuff, and once you burn up your tiny stuff and get this going, you don't need your tinder any longer. So kindling, you need a lot of. Now, if whoever's in charge of you says go out and gather wood, what you normally think is, and you come in and you bring this big tree that size in with you. So you don't want to do that, but this is fuel. So you have tinder, kindling, and fuel. So this is kind of about wrist size or bigger. A lot of times you see at your houses, somebody's maybe split some wood for you. I'll throw that on here, keep that going. So fuel is more for sitting around the fire at night with your guitar and you're singing and you have like that nice warm glow. Or if you're cooking, you don't want to cook a stew real quick with this because this is going to take forever. But if you're going to do some foil cooking or you're going to do Dutch oven cooking, you need a big bed of coals. So you do need fuel for that kind of cooking. So let's see, tinder. So tiny, we talked about that. You need handfuls. And hang on just a second. I'm going to switch over my page here. Some of the kinds of tinder that people always mention. So I'm a purist. I just use twigs. A lot of people say, pine needles. Good dry pine needles. Well, you know, pine needles burn, but if you get the match under them and they go, whew, and all of a sudden on. So they don't last long enough sometimes to get your wood caught on fire. Other people say leaves. So I have a lot of dried leaves here. You know, if you've ever had the great opportunity to go out and burn leaves, I live in the country, I can do that. You get down there and you almost need paper, a blowtorch, you know, just to keep them going. Once they go, they kind of go, but they're actually hard to light and to keep lit and to provide enough heat. So a lot of that stuff seems like it would work, and it does, but you have to be really good and persistent at it. So it's easiest just to use the tinder. And so let's talk about the wood that you don't want to use. I went roaming last night, or yesterday, and here, I know you can't see this very well. Look at this. I can crumple it up with my fingers. It's also cold and slimy and wet. That's not going to burn. If I put this on my fire right now, that would just smolder and not do anything. So that's wet, rotten wood. So you don't want to do that. Another way you can tell if it's rotten, I don't know, can you see the, Chelsea would probably be able to identify all this cool nature stuff, but fungus, mushrooms, all sorts of things growing. This is rotten, and it's probably almost into sawdust now. That's just going to smoke and be really gross too, so don't want to use any of that. The most obvious that you don't want to use is green wood. So how many of you know what green wood means? So type that in there. No, it's not a color. What we usually refer to green wood is it's live and it's still moist inside. And the way that you can tell if it's green, because it's going to look dead like everything else right now, is it's real bendy. See, I can't even snap or break that. I could probably almost tie a knot with that. So what you're looking for is dead wood, not live wood. So here's a piece, snaps, okay, cracks really good. So you know that's dead when it cracks really good. So those are some of the pieces of wood that you don't want to find. So you want to go out, find kindling that's good and dry. And now we're going to talk about getting a fire going. So what we're going to do, let's see how our timing is. Good, we have 15 minutes. So we're actually going to move. So I'm going to unplug you from outdoors. And the reason to move is, hopefully I don't lose all of you, is it's kind of windy out here today. So we're going to go where it's a little bit more sheltered. So it's not quite as windy. So we're going to go into my garage here. And again, hopefully I don't lose you. And yes, my friends are probably going, oh, but you can build a fire in the wet, windy rain with it turning to snow and ice. And yes, but I want this to be easy for you guys. So I'm going to set this here. So now we are in my garage. You're not going to be seeing me any longer. But I have this cool thing. It's a disc. And this way I can light this in my garage without burning my garage down. And don't worry, I've got my water. Okay, so first what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what you're going to light your fire with. So sorry you can't see me, but you can see all my little tools here. You need matches. And the best kind of matches to use are the big box matches, okay? There's smaller, I have a smaller box here somewhere. Well, I had a smaller box, but smaller, the matches are real short, so these are kind of long. And believe me or not, when I teach fire building, it's hard for brownies to get the match lit, but for a lot of you, it's hard for cadets. A lot of people don't light matches any longer. So what I want you to do is, you have to hold it kind of hard, and you're going to strike with kind of force. And hopefully you're not looking like my buddy. I don't want to burn my computer down here, but you just strike away from you, and then you kind of let your match light a little bit. It's going to go out because it is just a little breezy. But what I like to do is teach match lighting 101 first, because a lot of people are afraid of matches. So when you light matches and get ready, it's best to do it right by your fire instead of over to your buddy, so you don't want to burn anybody down. But once you light a match, that's when it gets confusing to people. So if I'm holding my match sideways like this, which way does the flame burn? Okay, how many of you know which way the flame's going to burn if it's not windy? Okay, some of you say out, down, up. It's up. It's going to flame up this way. If I turn it this way, which way is it going to burn? It's going to also burn up. If I hold it this way, it's going to burn up. And if I hold it this way, this is the way you really don't want to hold it. It's also going to burn, and that's when it's going to burn your fingers. So we'll get to matches in a little bit, but you probably have to do some match. Okay, the way you want to build your fire is, and there's a million different ways, And this is just one way that's really easy. And before I start, I want to say that a lot of people like to use things like paper or fire starters. Fire starters are okay, but I would wait until you direly need one. You really need to have the skill of using tinder to get your fire started. So I'm going to lay what's called a basic A. So I take three sticks, and I lay it like this. And you're looking at it backwards, but maybe you can see it that way. See the A? Does everybody see the A? I'm going to turn it towards me because it's going to be a little easier. When I put this like this, I want to be able to have the wind at my back to go under the cross piece into the A. But anyway, so here's the technical thing about this. This is where a lot of people get this wrong, and this is the foundation, is when I light my match, I want to be able to get it under the wood. And so the cross piece to the A, some people get it way too high, and some people get it too low where I can't get a match under. There's just a nice where you can just about get your fingers under. That's how high you want your cross piece to be, okay? So we have our cross piece. It's not too high, not too low. It's just perfect like that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to take a handful and just plop it down. This is the art. And just to let you know how to focus your wood, I have this penny. And I'm going to put this penny right in front of the cross piece, just about an inch in there. And I'm just going to say, that's where we're going to put our match over, okay? So, it's down like this. This is awkward. I know you can't see my head, but that's okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take each piece, and I'm going to put this across, and I'm going to try to alternate it in this one spot of my cross piece, just like this. And does anybody have any idea why I'm not putting these all nice and straight down in a row? I'm kind of alternating it around, twisting it around, laying it a little bit different. I'm going to get a little bit different wood here, okay? What does fire need to burn? That's probably will help you with your answer. So what three things does fire need to burn? So the first one, I can't read, that's way over there, is it needs a source of heat. So we're going to get the match going here in just a minute. And then it also needs some fuel. So we've got our wood. But the important part is it needs some oxygen. How many of you said oxygen? Okay. So we want to mess around like that so that we get plenty of oxygen in there. Now, as you can see, I am concentrating my wood over that penny that's laying down there, and not all the way across, because I want all my wood in kind of a spot so when the flame goes up, it's actually going to hit the wood, okay? So I just want to make sure that I've got enough on there to catch. Now, the secret to this is to do this with your tinder, but then have, as you can see, I have plenty more here. A lot of people make the mistake of lighting their fire, and they're like, yay! And then they have to run off and get more wood. And by the time they come back, this goes fast, so you have to hurry. Okay, so here we go. So we talked about lighting the match, and okay, it is doing really good. If it was windy, I could use my body. I could lay across and sort of block the wind. That's what buddies are for, is to get them right in there so that they can block the wind. So when I light my match, again, I'm going to make sure all my buddies are out of the way. I'm going to light it. Now, a lot of people light it and get it under there really quick. And what you have to do is let it catch for a minute. Well, not a minute, but for a couple seconds. It's going to sputter and do all that stuff. You have to wait until it actually gets that wood on fire. And then very carefully, you're going to put it under the cross piece and right over that penny. You could use a little pebble, and then you're going to hold it there. Now, here's what a lot of you like to do. You light your match, stick it under there, and then you hold it right up against the wood. So what's going to happen when I do that? It's going to go around this piece of wood. or the match is going to go out. Okay, so you want to hold it where the flame can hit, so about a ½ inch under there. Now also, a lot of you, when we're actually on dirt, you light it and you dig it down into the dirt, so you have to be careful. So you have plenty of time. A lot of people think you only have about 4 seconds to get this match under there, but you have to try it sometime, is to hold it, and you can probably hold it for a good 20-25 seconds without burning your fingers. So here we go. So we're going to light this, we're going to let it, and we're going to get it under here, we're going to hold it. If you hold your tongue just right, okay, there, see, the fire's gone straight up. I moved my matches, I've burnt plenty of boxes of matches. Okay, so there we go. So now, I've got the fire going, there's your 1 match fire, but I can't go yay and celebrate right now because that's going to burn really quickly. And so what I want to do is take the rest of my tinder here. Now I don't have to do these in little tiny 1-inch pieces. I can start putting on longer pieces. Okay, fire's getting a little big. Good thing I don't have a smoke detector out here in my garage. Okay, I'm going to keep putting on the tinder. Now I'm going to start getting a little thicker tinder. Okay, because I want some a little bit bigger stuff to start catching. Now look at that. We have, okay, so I have got my bucket of water over here just in case. So now what I'm going to do is carefully keep adding wood. I'm going to put a little bit bigger pieces on. Now notice I'm not tossing them on there because if I were to toss, it's going to go whoosh, all over the place. Okay, so I'm going to get a little bit bigger stuff. A little bit bigger. If it looks like it's going out, you just have to kind of play around with it. I might add just a little bit more tinder. But that's how you build a 1 match fire, okay? You know, you may not be able to use 1 match to start with, but if you practice, I think every good Girl Scout, well, not every good Girl Scout, but every Girl Scout and adult should be able to practice this until they get a 1 match fire. And sometimes you can get it right away, sometimes it takes a while, but it's all about that A, and it's all about putting the smallest tinder down, and it's all about concentrating and watching and focusing on it. One thing you don't ever want to do is go, I need to go grab something. You don't ever want to leave your fire alone, okay? So always have someone by your fire. All right. So we've sang around our fire, we've done all sorts of cool stuff, we've cooked. How do we put this out? So you might want to use this fire later on in the afternoon, you might want to cook on it this evening, and if we were to take this whole bucket and now just pour it on there, what's going to happen? Anybody know what's going to happen? A, you might waste all your water and miss the fire. B, you're going to just use this all up and have this big mud puddle. And if you come back later, it might not be ready to use again. So the method is, just with your hand, start just taking small pieces, a little bit of water, and you're just going to, I'm going to stir it around a little bit, kind of make sure I've gotten everything. So this is really easy to put out. It's big, but my other fire out there, which we'll go back to here in just a minute, so I don't want to put my hand on it, but I want to feel, there's a little bit of a hot spot over here. I can stir it again. Okay, so there, that's how you put a fire out. That should dry out really nice, and then later on I could come back and build a fire on there again. So voila, you have a 1 match fire using basic A. So now, if you bear with me, we're gonna go back outside real quick. So I'm gonna grab you here, check the time as we walk in here. We've got, what time is it? We've got a couple more minutes to finish up. So, like, being the outdoor person, this is just the most nerve-wracking thing for me is making sure that the technology works. So you're gonna go back here. I'm going to plug you in again just to make sure. And I always talk about trying to not use technology when you're out in the wilds here, but Okay, so let's kind of recap here real quick. Oh, let's see where we are. Okay, there we go. See, my fire is almost down. Now don't worry, I didn't leave it all alone. I was just right over there, so I could make sure if anything happened I could run back out here. So now you know some of the safety tips. I have my hat on, my hair back, nothing flowy. I had my different kind of woods that I needed. I have a shovel, a rake, just in case I needed those. And then I showed you how to build the fire, so practice those. So how do you clean up after? So I showed you how to put your fire out, but a lot of times you'll want to get a fire going, and you'll notice all the ashes from the previous people are in your fire pit. So what do you want to do with those? So if you're going like to a Girl Scout camp or somewhere like that, a lot of our camps have ash cans where you can kind of clean that out a little bit and put them in the ash can. If you don't, you might want to ask, because what you don't want to do is get the shovel, dig out the ashes, walk over to the woods line and dump them in a pile. So that's like you're leaving a trace. So you want to leave no trace. So ask and see how you can clean that up and what you do with the ashes. The other thing too is if you take your shovel, carefully dig just the ashes. A lot of people will dig a little bit of the dirt, and the next time they dig a little bit of dirt, and next time they dig a little bit of dirt, and then by then you're building your fire in this big pit. So just be careful not to like dig out the dirt. Okay, so I guess we're pretty much done here. If this is something that you really enjoy, that you want to get out and do more of, Girl Scouts, again, it's very traditional. We're around the fires all the time, singing, cooking, staying warm, having a great time. Go to gs.org/join. Tells you more about Girl Scouting. If you enjoyed this and you haven't watched any before, we do this every day now as we're social distancing at 10 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. And if you go back, there's GFO, the Facebook page, Girl Scouts of Western Ohio. You can check there for all the past ones, and you can see the future ones. I forgot to look what tomorrow is, but I'm sure they're really exciting. It could be some art, it could be badge work, all sorts of good things. If you've got any questions, want to know more about fires or any resources, just type in, and I'll get on afterwards and see what you, what you want to know. So I guess with that, I'm gonna have a little snack now done. So I'm gonna crank up my pie iron because I've got some really good coals, and maybe one of these days we'll do a little bit of Dutch oven cooking or pie iron cooking with you. So this is Vicki Proctor signing off, and have a great day. I'm sorry that you're not out by the fire like this, but you could be. So go practice. We'll see you later.